Welcome, everybody, and we're continuing our City Council budget hearings, and we'll get right into it. And Barb, you and your team, thanks for coming, and we'll let you go ahead and get started.
So, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be presenting the SIRI portion of the budget. It begins on page 140 and goes through page 147. Before I start, though, I would like to take a moment and introduce the managers that I have with me tonight. So I have Chris Crippen, Assistant Director of Operations, James Rendell, Assistant Director of Fleet Facilities, and Rob Jennings, our budget analyst. I should also mention that this budget was approved by the Transit Board in their December board meeting. So this next year, we will continue to work on increasing our large ridership base to support the goal of connecting people to the community with safe and efficient transportation. This also aligns the goal of reducing carbon emissions and providing a sustainable community in which to live. So ongoing efforts to attract, hire, and retain employees will remain a high priority next year to ensure that we can continue to meet the service demands and deliver the services that our community depends on. Our ridership is trending upward. We are about at 80% of pre-pandemic levels. We are anticipating ridership to be between 4.5 and 4.8 million passengers this year. We are currently carrying about 29,000 passengers a day. Rob did just tell me that our peak ridership this semester has been 32,654. Prior to the pandemic, it was about 30,000 with a peak of about 33,000 to kind of give you perspective. Additionally, I should mention we have seen an increase in community riders as well. So that's really nice, and it indicates to us that people are really starting to continue to embrace SIRIDE and riding it again. I know you've heard me talk about this before, but maintaining our large ridership base is really a focus of our work. We receive over $2.6 million of federal funding, which is tied to our high ridership and our ability to outperform transit agencies with much higher populations than ours. And while ridership continues to increase, we still have challenges with staffing levels, inflation cost increases, and supply chain reliability. So in this environment, I am pleased to be presenting a budget with a low increase to our 3 local funding partners. We were able to keep the increase low due to additional state funding. So this additional revenue source will keeps that funding low, but will also support the expansion of additional routes. So we'll be expanding routes on nights and weekends on 3 of our routes. For the city, we're requesting an additional 2.5%, which is about $53,000 additional dollars. The transit tax levy is very similar to last year. It's 59.6 per 1,000. During our CIP presentation, I talked about planned purchases over the next 5 years, and I also talked about the importance, and I've heard it in some other presentations, about securing both state and federal grants. For us, that keeps our system in a good repair, which is a requirement by the Federal Transit Administration. But more importantly, it really helps lower the financial commitment to those local funding partners. So I wanted to briefly highlight a few of the current capital projects that we're working on that I didn't necessarily talk about during the CIP. So we were fortunate to receive a federal discretionary grant for about $3.2 million, which will allow us to purchase 3 additional battery electric buses and 2 articulated buses. Council recently approved the purchase of those battery electric buses, which will bring the fleet to 7. However, we will also be purchasing 2 more articulated buses. Those are the 60-foot buses and the ones that are pictured here. And that will bring our articulated bus fleet to 10. The good thing about that is we will be able to run all articulated buses on the number 23 Orange route. So that will increase capacity on that route because it is our busiest route with the same operating costs. And we also received a $750,000 state grant for a much-needed shop rehabilitation project. You can kind of see the walls being torn down here. This project improves areas in the maintenance division that are over 40 years old. It will improve safety in that area as well as air quality. And then I wanted to highlight the B100 pilot project. I know I mentioned it a little bit in the Capitol, but the Transit Board did approve moving forward with a pilot project on 5 of our 40-foot buses to run the 100% biodiesel or B100. And I know you guys are familiar with it with the snowplow. So This project is in partnership with Chevron Renewable Energy, REG, and Optimus. REG did provide a support package of a little over $53,000 for the capital of this project. And slightly different than what they're doing for fleet is they are providing the B100 at 10% over number 2 diesel for us off the rack rate of diesel. We'll also continue to look to technology, and that'll be critical this next year as well. Our primary emphasis will be enhancing our passenger-facing information, so the stuff you're seeing right here, to really improve the rider experience and streamline access to our services. We'll continue to further integrate additional infotainment bus monitors, which are shown here as well. So these are the monitors that show in real time upcoming stops, transfer points. I think these monitors are very helpful for everybody, but they're very helpful for people who are new to the system, maybe have never ridden before, and they help with accessibility and really ease of access of using it. I should also mention these monitors display advertising, so it is additional revenue source for SciRide, and they are also 80% federally funded. Excuse me. So I'm going to move on to fixed route. That begins on page 144. And expenditures in this area are up primarily due to property insurance rate increases and parts and lubricants. So property insurance rates have increased due to lack of carriers willing to provide coverage to our vehicles that are parked outside. And this is due to lack of space within our facility. We will be pursuing grant opportunities when they become available to expand the facility so that we can accommodate all the vehicles within the SciRide facility. And then commodities and expenditures are also increasing. So fuel, parts, and lubricants really account for the largest portion of this expenditure. The fuel budget we did not increase in FY 24-25. We did, however, increase the parts and lubricants line items, and that increase is to reflect cost increases we're seeing within the maintenance division. Some of these increases are due to supply chain and production disruptions. However, many of our increases are really, so for like diesel exhaust fluids or DEF are really just due to rising costs that we're seeing for these fluids. And it's going to impact this year's budget and will probably impact future budgets as well. So next is Dial-A-Ride. Dial-A-Ride is our paratransit service. This is for people who are unable to use our fixed route services. Dial-A-Ride allows members of the community who may not otherwise be able to leave their home, and it allows people to stay in their homes. We work with HRDA to try to close that transportation gap for seniors and people with disabilities. Expenditures in this area are up over last year, and this is just due to increases in ridership. We're anticipating ridership this year on Dial-A-Ride will be about 14,500 passengers. That is the highest ridership we have had on Dial-A-Ride, well, in the history of Dial-A-Ride. I will also mention SciRide, and I think Steve mentioned this in the capital as well, but SciRide's operating expenses or the Dial-A-Ride is 80% federally funded. So really working with HRDA and shifting people to the right services to Dial-A-Ride helps really, I think, ensure the most economical cost for the customer as well as the Ames community. So one of SciRide's goals is to connect people to their community. I thought you'd want to read this tweet here. To opportunities, to education, and really to the things that are important in their lives. And for many, SciRide is a lifeline. Having access to frequent, reliable, and affordable transportation is key to closing that transportation gap. As I mentioned earlier, this next year, we will be adding services to areas of the community that are not currently served by fixed routes, improving customer service, and really advancing equity. We'll be adding additional services on the Brown route on Friday and Saturday, or Monday through Friday in the evening, and then we'll be adding weekend service on the number 9 Plum route and the number 11 Cherry route. So the Plum route is the one that goes to the South Duff area, and then the Cherry route is the one that goes clear out on County Line Road close to Boone, if that helps orient you. We'll continue to work with community partners like Ames School and DMAC to really help to ensure that transportation isn't a barrier for their students and to their education. And as always, equity and access will continue to be important to SciRide and really does play a role in our service delivery. As I did mention earlier, our efforts to attract, hire, and retain employees really remains a high priority this year so that we can continue to meet the service demands of our customers. Focusing on the rider experience and delivering the highest level of customer service is really going to be key. I do want to say none of this would be possible without the team that we do have at SciRide. So as I kind of conclude here, I would like to take a moment and really just express my gratitude to that team. SciRide's success is really a testament to their dedication. I am truly grateful for their unwavering commitment of all the employees, whether they're on the front lines or behind the scenes. Their willingness to go above and beyond, along with their understanding of our mission, and really the importance of delivering excellence is what has really set us apart. Currently, SciRide, and we have been for quite a while, we're still third in the nation in rides per capita. So New York, San Francisco, Ames, Iowa. Thanks to this exceptional team, and I think the joint vision with this group here, the shared vision to work together and work collaboratively, I'm confident that we will continue to provide safe, reliable services that have really made us one of the best in the nation. We just continue to focus on connecting people, streamlining processes, and delivering excellence. It'll allow us to continue to meet the demands of the Ames community. So thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Any questions?
I have two. Just remind us, if you could, Barb, if I'm on my phone and I want to check a route, is this available in other languages?
Yes. So let me stop. Yes, it's available in whatever native language your phone is available in.
Oh, that's right.
So if you currently have your iPhone set up to be in Mandarin Chinese, that's what it will come up in Mandarin Chinese. The app itself does not translate. It's what your phone's native to your phone.
Okay, so I think I understand it. So if I'm not an English speaker, the SciRide app will work for me regardless of my first language.
That is what I've been told by our technology. So correct.
Okay, cool.
Because I did actually clarify that today. So
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
let me just say also, we did, I know it was a tweet up there, but we did add another app. So the Ames Ride app was developed by an Iowa State student, Patrick Dieters, I think. Is that correct, Rachel?
Yeah, Deemers. Yeah.
Deemers. Okay, thank you. So you can use My State, and we are pushing out the Ames Ride app too, and it's been very successful.
Yeah, I love these developments. And I have one question. We talked a little bit in the pre-planning budget meeting about the trust fund for SciRide. I was looking in here. Am I missing that? Is that reflected anywhere in the budget materials?
The Student Government Trust Fund.
Yes.
It is on page 337.
Oh, I'm in the wrong
Sorry, I
place.
didn't talk about it.
No.
So the students have done an excellent job of rebuilding that trust fund. Because we did receive one-time federal funding, the Transit Board was able to make some decisions to help the students rebuild that trust fund, but they had 2 years of large fee increases with the idea to rebuild that. And I actually just spoke to them, and I think they should be incredibly proud of what they've done. That trust fund now has, we're projecting it'll have an additional $428,000 above the student government directed 10%. So I think that's awesome. I will tell you, this is the first time, I think Nancy mentioned this in her presentation, that we transferred $210,000 into the trust fund. That has not happened in 8 years. So it's amazing that they have done that. And I think it speaks highly of the board too, being able to help the students.
Well, we certainly commend you for the importance of having that in place. And that's a significant increase in the trust fund, and it speaks to the viability and resilience of that fund. In terms of a target amount, it's been a while since I've served on transit. So is there a target number or percentage? How do we know that amount is right-sized?
So I met with the students last year and had some conversations about how we do it on the transit board. So the transit board requires me to keep 7.5% to 10% of our operating expenses in a balance, which they call the operating fund closing balance, which you probably remember now that I've mentioned that. So the students at the time had a minimum balance of 500,000, and they thought it was better to do it the same way in which the board was doing it. So they have a minimum balance of 10%. So they keep 10% of what they are committed to pay SIRIDE.
Okay. And so for our finance team, that's a number that you like, and just in terms of the purpose, because I'm trying to tease out, there's a purpose for that account, and we just want to make sure, I don't want more money in there than what's needed, but I don't want it too small. Is that from your perspective on the finance side? I wouldn't have a clue to know exactly what that should be. Do you guys feel like that's the right size?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we'll just have to continually look at in terms of fund balance requirements, and something that should probably be reviewed regularly. But that seems like a reasonable amount, given that it's giving its intent. So
Yeah, great. Thanks for all that. Great report.
Barb, can you tell us how much we're now paying starting drivers and what the wage incentive is these days to try and attract more people?
I'm going to defer to Chris with the amount here.
So we're at $20.79 starting wage, and then there's $1,000 sign-on bonus still. James also hires lane workers, which are part-time employees that help fuel and do maintenance for the buses when they come back at night, and they're also at the same wages. So I think we've seen an overall uptick in people applying because the wage is very good, and it's kind of pushes us above competition, I think, for part-time jobs in Ames.
And I mentioned this last year, but I think it's important to mention as well. We worked with the DOT, and they changed the state law so that we can now do third-party CDL testing. So I think that has made a difference as well. I don't necessarily think that's why people come to SIRIDE, but I think the ability to test drivers on site has been a lot easier for people to get out and start working on their own. Because we were seeing delays of 6-8 weeks, depending upon, especially if we hired a student who maybe doesn't have as much availability as somebody who wanted maybe 30 hours. They'd be 2-3 months if they failed their CDL the first time.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
you all
us.
coming.
And happy
Have a good evening. Happy what?
Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. All right. Move on to planning services and Kelly.
Good housing.
That's right. I got you, but thank you. So,
It's very disorienting not having them last after all these years.
Probably one time move up. Right. So quick recap, pretty similar to all the other years, and just kind of an overview of what planning services are. We kind of divide this into two primary activities of current planning and long-range planning, or policy planning, depending on you want to look at that. And then we have also shared services. So some of our charges relate to the administrative services division and the support that they provide us that we share with fire and public works as well. 3 boards still, or commissions. We did take on, with administrative services, took on all of zoning board adjustment support a year ago. But that's, planning staff has always been part of that board, so no real change there. I give you this pie chart also every year, just to kind of give you a sense over time. That's kind of the average commitment. You would notice in this particular year, because of development applications dropping and some of the initiatives by City Council for implementation of Plan 2040, the wedge for policy plan to be larger, and the subdivision review and some of those development review wedges would be smaller if we really broke it down into those kinds of things on a detailed basis. So I usually give you a little snapshot of kind of what happened, and in our version of our performance measures, we have really kind of a similar trend of development for the last 2 years, and we're projecting that to continue at least through the year 2040. 2024. I think there's some optimism that the full fiscal year of 24-25 may pick up again. I think a lot of that's going to be very dependent on interest rates. As you talk to developers, if interest rates can come down, that helps them finance the projects, and things might come back to a higher level that we had seen before 2023. So we had to talk about housing in the last couple months. Ultimately, the single family home production came in at 62 homes for last year, which was the lowest since 2019, which was 63 homes. And the average has dropped down to 77.6 over that same 5-year period. The mix is kind of similar, though. It's not just one thing being built in terms of only detached or only attached. There's a mix of a little bit of those being different products. So I think although we did not expect to see a ton of land being annexed to the city and subdivided, there are some projects that are moving forward, probably at a slower pace or a smaller number of lots than what we had seen previously. So there's a list of the subdivisions that either exist as options for building within, or new ones that should be coming online this summer for other housing opportunities. And then for apartments, we've seen a similar reduction in production. We've talked about this before. When ISU peaked in enrollment, it took a long time to kind of digest the supply. We've gone through the supply, and we're probably looking for new sites for apartments this year. A lot of people have looked at that. You see 2 affordable housing projects highlighted here too. So the Bridge Home will be building one of their projects. It's under construction on Sherman, and we have the affordable Light Tech project that we're hoping to see get off the ground here this spring as well. So uniquely, some affordable housing will be built, but we also need some market-based apartments to come in and fill in some gaps in the supply chain as well. As we look at the commercial industrial, it's really interesting. We haven't seen the retail beyond the redevelopment of Kmart as any kind of major retail additions. You see a lot of changeover at the mall, but in terms of net square footage, we haven't seen much built in the last few years. But we do see employment. So we have had industrial uses, employment uses. The research park has had some businesses, and then we platted the North Dayton Industrial Subdivision last year, that TIF partnership there. And that has gone according to plan in terms of, I think 3 buildings have been started already, and probably 1 or 2 more will be happening this year. So that has been prosperous for us as an investment and from a small business or a business development perspective. And we have seen Wiffles move ahead. Not only with their first phase, but they are now planning for the second phase. They started with a warehouse just to get their foothold here, but now the real seed processing elements are going to be coming in here in the next 2 years, and that's moving forward as well. And then just kind of, again, looking ahead, our volumes of applications aren't projected to be significantly different than the prior year, probably more hopefully norming back up to that average. There are some prospects out there, people that have come in. We've talked about the Link Forever. We still hope that comes back in that same interest rate environment discussion that we've had. But there's some other options out here for people to take on new projects if the economics support that as well. So for the policy planning, as I mentioned early on, we did a lot more on that side last year. We had a lot of follow-up from council goals, implementation of Plan 2040. A lot of effort went into the ADU and the duplex standards here in the late summer and the fall. So public outreach efforts were significant at that point. And then we also have some other activities that are yet to be completed. So council goals related to housing are still an ongoing priority. We have the housing task force recommendations, affordable housing strategy follow-up. You initiated the downtown planning partnership with Ames Main Street. So there's some activities that are going on. And you'll remember that we basically look at a work plan at this time of year. So in the next, either the end of February or beginning of March, we'll come back for reprioritization of a lot of activities that you had seen a glimpse of in late fall. So you gave us that direction to kind of finish out what we're doing and then to come back and reprioritize going forward. And then the last kind of couple of things on this list were some other things that you identified, and the redirection areas is another one that you had a separate item on to talk about for neighborhood planning studies. And we also noted that we have been in the process of doing DRC, process improvement. You go, well, what's a DRC? Development Review Committee. It's the administrative side of development reviews. You have multi-departments meeting with all development project applicants and providing comments. And as Steve had committed earlier or I should say later in the fall last year, we're looking at that from an improvement process. How do we help our applicants get through the process better? look at our ability to work with applicants and get those projects moving. One of the other commitments was to add a development activity report, to add a little bit of an accounting measure. So if people are wondering what's happening in the city, don't have to wait till the annual budget presentation or whatever report council asks for. So we're going to work on adding that into that available information for us. And from a budget note, at this point in time, we don't have any large studies or anything that we're looking at for consultant assistance. So there's nothing in our budget that's extra beyond our normal personnel costs and other things that are in there. And we usually cover administrative services here. As I mentioned, that's a shared division. A lot of administrative support, and they're really the front line for customer service. But they also do work with driveway permits, building permits, rental permits. They help guide people to those things, and they're also part of that DRC improvement process. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments about planning services or admin services.
Questions?
All right.
Just one point I would make, just from an observation perspective. I mean, we don't have very much control over what the market does, but building 62 houses is not going to get us to 15,000 very quickly. So I feel the weight of that. So thanks for keeping us up to date on that. Hopefully we'll see more housing starts this year.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to that housing task force follow-up item we have on that bullet. So we brought that to you in December, and you have us coming back with more information. Again, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'll probably have more action items related to that topic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, Kelly. Vanessa, citywide housing program.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Okay. As we talk about our housing and community development division, our goal continues to address the needs by increasing ways to increase our availability and affordability of housing, and to explore, encourage availability of all types of housing, because that allows our families to have choice that meets their needs for both their families and where they live in the community, to help with them employment and other resources they may need to survive day-to-day living activities. So this program covers the activities for 22-24 and 24-25. It's our citywide affordable housing program. This program started way back when we first had our countywide program, and after that program closed and we had a fund balance, we rolled it into a citywide program. And right now we continue to use that to cover any expenses that are not eligible under our CDBG and home programs. And that's basically what we've been doing the last couple of years. We kind of switched our programming for our nonprofit education and so forth directly into our CDBG and our home programs. And so we're doing less than that. And this is just the base for that. As you can see, 5% of the housing coordinator salary and benefits still come out of this particular program, because we don't have all of the resources in our CDBG and home programs to cover that and any other temporary staff needs that we may have. So that's the kind of basis of the citywide program at this time. Then we switched to our large community development block grant program starting on page 214. We became an entitlement city back in 2004. And so this 23-24 year, we were allocated our 19th allocation of block grant funds. It kind of decreased a little bit down to $557,990, but of that amount, 20% can be used for programming, and the remaining 80% is what we use for programming. We also had an anticipated rollover balance where we have program income that comes in from the sale of homes, and we also have about 1 or 2 repayment left from our affordable housing program. And so that all anticipated in our carryover. And then we also anticipate always trying to sell housing as we partner with Habitat, and we've purchased a lot more land this year. So we anticipate having some program income from selling those lots for redevelopment. Of course, our 24-25 allocation announcement has not been made yet. We're hoping that our funding for this coming year will remain at least at the 557 for the budget, but hopefully it'll go up. We don't know until that's announced. Hopefully it's going to be announced sometime within the next month or so. So in the meantime, we're using our 23-24 numbers for our 24-25 projection. And just kind of talking about some of the activities that we've been doing with our CDBG program. We've had a lot of contact from the public identifying slum and blighted properties. There's a lot of them. And so we've also been working with our inspections department to help identify some of those dangerous buildings and to just keep our neighborhoods vitalized from these deteriorating structures. And this structure that you see tonight has been sitting on the corner of 7th and Grand for quite a long time. Actually, it's been abandoned for over 20 years. It was a rental, but it had been vacant for quite a while. And so we had the opportunity through partnering with inspections to convince the owner to sell the property to us so that we can get down that deteriorated structure. And I did do a little video of the demolition of that property because I was supposed to cut that out. So anyway, I just thought it would be fun to show you what this house, all the asbestos was in the drywall. So that was a lot of asbestos that was in the house. So it had to be taken down a special way to do the asbestos and the demolition at the same time. So you had to basically water everything down in order to get the house down with the asbestos in it as well. Otherwise, we would have had to remove all the asbestos first and then to tear the property down. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of show the video of what that looked like in doing that type of demolition. And then as you can see, that's what the property looks like today. That is vacant, and hopefully that's, again, a property that we can use to increase our affordable housing and maybe get some more units built back there. That's the rental side rather than the homeowner side. And hopefully we're continuing activities with 2023-24. We're hopefully going to continue to look at launching our single-family housing rehab program in conjunction with the new building of program about property maintenance. And hopefully we'll have people calling and saying, hey, I have some issues going on that I need to address. Can you help me with it through your programming? And we're also looking at working with Parks and Rec this spring to buy the park equipment to install a park at the Baker subdivision. And as some of you know, if you've been out there lately, Habitat is building 3 houses right now. They've started on, and they just really are booming right now. And they're looking at starting on 2 more houses this year. And so hopefully we'll be helping them with down payment and closing cost assistance. They're hoping to have their first house completed by this coming May. And then the other ones are going, and they're really being able to work very efficiently because everything is in the same place. So all of their resources can be moved from one lot to the other rather than across town. And so we're also working on a plan to sell our market rate lots. As you know, when we sell property, it comes in as program income. And so we have to be able to spend the program income first. So we're looking at working with Public Works to look at some more public improvements that we can do in the city that would spend these types of dollars quicker. Like we're hoping to get the water main lines across the city to have lead water, more of that. We're looking at possibly doing some sidewalk improvements. These would be mostly in our low-income census tract areas. That's where we would have to focus our CDBG dollars. But this would be a way that if we sell the market rate lots and that program comes in, that we can reprogram it to a larger program like Public Works so we can spend the funds a lot quicker. So that's what we're hoping to do with that.
Vanessa, could that, excuse me, could that money be used for energy efficiency projects to help us accomplish two objectives. One is to help those who are under-resourced and comply with this program, but also work towards some of the climate action plan objectives of trying to do some helping people with either insulation or equipment or whatever. Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. Matter of fact, I was just on a webinar the other day with HUD. They're launching their radon program. And they want to encourage, now we do radon testing a lot when we buy houses to rehab. So it's not new for us, but some communities have not dealt with the radon issue that a lot of families have when they have lower level living or just crawl spaces. And I'm telling you, from the ones that we've done, the radon levels here are very high. So that is possibly one of those things we could do, along with insulation and windows and all of those things that could help that. Yes, sir. Okay, so again, what's coming up for you here on the 20th is we're working, is 5 years, it's coming pretty quickly. So we're working on our 24-29 5-year consolidated plan and our 2024 19th annual action plan. And so what we've typically been doing the last 5 years when we do this is that we have conducted a public input session where the public gets to come in and work with you and talk about what the needs and the goals are for the next coming 5 years. So we're planning that with you on the 20th at your third council workshop. And so we're getting excited and hope the public will come out and engage in a meaningful conversation to look at the data that we're working with Iowa State to put together that's required as part of the 5-year plan, and then have you facilitate conversations about the needs, the goals, and the priorities so that we can set what that looks like for this upcoming 5 years. Okay, our next big program is a home investment partnership program that starts on page 216. You know, we became a home entitlement back in 2018 by a fluke, but it just came in handy. It just been working out great. Even though our allocations went from $700,000 back in 2018 down to $321,000 in 2023-24, we've been able to take those dollars and build up a fund that's going to help our LIHTC project out in the Baker subdivision by contributing $1.8 million for that project. So we believe we've made good use of those funds by just waiting for the right project to come along. As we start to see these funds go down, we will have a big impact for the amount of time that we've had the dollars. So it'd be curious when funding comes out this year if we're going to be at or below the 321. Also, the home program requires a 25% local match contribution. So we have been using $300,000 of our general obligation bonds to count as match toward this contribution. And the other contribution we think that we'll be able to count that I'm working with HUD about is when we put in the geothermal out at the Baker subdivision, the matching dollars that electric put in for the geothermal, we're hoping that we can use that and count that towards our local match contribution because it was non-federal dollars. So then that would increase our amount of local match. So as we spend our home dollars, we will be in good shape for the next couple of years with our local match build-up pool. Again, the funding has not been announced for this year. And then a part as the council workshop on the 20th, we'll also be talking about how you want to use your home dollars for the next 5 years. That's all part of that 5-year plan for home. And as you know, the biggest investment that we're doing, I just talked about, is the partnership with Hatch Group that they were awarded just over $1 million in LIHTC credits. They also got just over $500,000 in state home dollars, and that commitment from us that we're hoping to construct the 38 multifamily units on lot 27 in the Baker subdivision. We did meet with the neighborhood last week and went over the plans and what that would look like on the site and got good feedback from them. They're excited about the project. And so we're getting very close. We're hoping that we can start some construction in April maybe, and this is also going to be connected with our geothermal, and that would hopefully go in first before they start constructing the units. But the goal is to try to start construction sometime in April. So that would be an exciting project to get started, and again, as we finish that subdivision. And last is our CARES program. You know, we had CARES dollars through our CDBG program that we ended that program last year, and we spent just over $700,000 doing that program. And we had our second CARES grant through the state of Iowa, through Department of Economic Development. And we just got over $600,000 of that, but we end up reducing that budget to just over $300,000, and $32,000 of that is for admin. But through that state program, we were able to assist the Mid-Iowa Community Action Program with a van so they can do food delivery. And we also use funds to help buy playground equipment for the University Child Care Center out on Burner Avenue. And then we also had the first infant daycare room installed at ACPC, which again, because of the CARES funds, we were able to have those agencies benefit from CARES dollars. And if you have not been over to the ACPC site to see that new infant daycare center, they would love to show it off to you. It's pretty nice. And thank the council for their support for doing the ribbon cuttings and helping to celebrate some milestones for those agencies and these projects. And then the last program is our American Rescue Program. We were fortunate that when we submitted that plan back last March, that it was actually approved the very first time it went through. That's been good and bad. But anyway, we're hoping to start this spring on working on the guidelines for this particular program so that we can start soliciting applications. When we submitted our application, we set aside the money to create non-congregate housing for qualified populations. That would include veterans and those experiencing domestic violence and other individuals experience homelessness. So we have a group that we're putting together so that we can put those guidelines together, and so that then we can solicit applications from those agencies that basically serve these populations, that we could look at creating some non-congregate housing and possibly losing some of the lots that we've already purchased, that maybe we can use those lots through our CDBG to help create some of this non-congregate housing for these agencies. So that's what we're looking at doing for that. So like I just mentioned, we're going to be working on our guidelines and then hopefully submitting, asking for applications. The deadline for expending these funds is September 30th, 2030. So we have been kind of getting some other things ahead of time that's more precedent setting than this one, but this is coming up because even though we have a little time, we're not going to wait till too late to start trying to implement that program. And so that concludes the presentation for our housing programs. But of course, at the end of all that stuff, we could not do any of these things for me in housing without Deb Emery, the housing assistant. She's always busy trying to help process applications. As we take applications for the Habitat homes, we're processing those applications, and then we send those applications to Habitat, and then they process them based on their guidelines. And she's very helpful in getting those done. And any other the CDBG or home programs that we do, I wouldn't be able to get it done without her. So I wanted to give a shout out to her for her support in these programs. And then, of course, for the planning side, I know y'all waiting on this. Can you guess what it is this year? I know you can. So the planning staff, they're packing up old stuff. It's just time to get it out of here. And so they're just cleaning it up and getting things out. They tried to pack each other up a little bit, but I had to stop them. But anyway, so as they pack up the old year, they are prepared for the new year. So we want to welcome you to Planning 2024. They're excited. We have Eloise, Benjamin, Ray, Amelia is our newest planner, and Justin Moore. And so they're excited to get started for Planning 2024. And Kelly and I, and especially Kelly, couldn't get what he's doing or for you without the staff. And we just want to give a shout out to them as well. So Kelly hadn't seen that either.
Can you contain your enthusiasm?
So that's our presentation.
Thank you.
Vanessa, who does the demolition on projects like that one that we saw on Grand Avenue?
Well, we go out for bids, and that particular demolition was Randy Kennedy Construction. And he's one of those that has the license to do the demolition and the asbestos at the same time. Not every contractor has that particular license. So he's able to do it during that process.
Vanessa, I'm interested in that property as well.
You
What
want
kind
to
of,
purchase it?
but I'm interested though, it's a very key property, location-wise. What kind of process would you foresee that we would go through to think about what that will look like going forward?
Well, in working with the planning staff and the zoning for that site, initially it was what, three apartments? Something like that. I would love to see that, but I have to rely on the expertise of the planning as to what can be built back within the time frame. Kelly, you want to tell them what I can do with that property?
It's most likely going to be an opportunity for a two-family home. Most likely going to be an opportunity for a two-family home. So it's, even though it was a non-conforming apartment, if you tried to put back a multifamily apartment, parking and access and all those things would not yield what was there probably.
So is this something that, like with the Baker subdivision, we're going to take on that task of developing, or is this a property that we're going to have the private sector build that out?
We removed it as blight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could, if like what I mentioned earlier, if it becomes interested in using it towards our non-congregate housing, then we personally would probably be able to move that project along, or we can just put it up for sale to a developer and say, this is what has to be built back there for affordable housing, and put that caveat. So we could go either way, and council can tell us if they have a preference. But I'm waiting to see if we get any applications and interested from the nonprofit organizations who may qualify for the non-congregate housing, because that might be a spot that they could do that on.
Yep, thank you.
And that would kind of eliminate some of the costs up front because we already own the lot.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Just a quick one about the Habitat homes. Do you have an idea of when those might be processed? Like have families in them? Have you had those conversations with Habitat at this point?
Yes, we've been doing applications since last summer. And they have got 3 home buyers through that process for the 3 homes that they're building now. And like I said, every time we get applications, we process them and we send them to them. So they kind of have a waiting list, but they're not processing anymore until they get these 3 houses built. But they have applications that we're sending them in the waiting, that we advertise every time that we're doing this program in partnership with them. So we take those applications to make sure they meet our program guidelines first, and then we pass their names and applications to Habitat.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Kelly.
Appreciate it.
Move on to Brian and city council and city manager budgets.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to present you with the City Council's proposed budget for next fiscal year. And I'm also pleased to introduce to you Pa Goldbeck, who is our newest assistant city manager. This is her first day.
Welcome.
Welcome.
So ask her a tough question.
Is Steve likable?
It's a tough question.
There we go.
Normally, I find a really great photo from your goal setting session where you're engaged in important work and put that as the first photo in the presentation. Unfortunately, this year again, it was so engaging, I didn't have time to do that. So we have the council yearbook photos again. It looks very similar to last year's council yearbook photos. The council's budget begins on page 228 and goes through 229. Again, as I mentioned, we had the council goal setting retreat a couple of weeks ago. Staff has taken the information that the council has discussed at that meeting, and we're going to be working on turning your vision, your goals into several specific action steps that we can help that we can take to help you achieve those goals. So we have not yet sat down to deliberate that in great detail, but we'll be doing that here in the next couple of weeks. One of the major activities that the council does is participate in a variety of recognition events throughout the calendar year. In this last year, the council renamed the Ames Municipal Airport, and we held an unveiling ceremony for the renamed airport. The council also participated in recognizing some businesses that participated in the Smart Business Challenge. And then, of course, a couple of annual events that the council holds, the mayor and council's bike ride, illustrated on the left, and then the Bike to Work Week breakfast in the center and on the right, with coffee delivered, of course, via bike. The council also hosted a delegation from our partner city of Koshu City, Japan, and this is that delegation, including the mayor of Koshu City. They were here for several days and toured various city facilities, met with community members, businesses, and there was discussion about potential trade partnerships, business partnerships. So it was a really exciting opportunity for the Ames community to learn more about our partner city and for them to learn about us. Another regular activity that the council holds is the council night at the band shell. Here we've got a couple of photos of Mayor and Tim, I think, talking to community members and handing out things and really enjoying a lovely evening at Band Shell Park. Then on the bottom right is the repainting of the crosswalk, the inclusive crosswalk down by the
That's the
Healthiest
healthy
walk.
walk.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's Healthy Estate Walk. I'm sorry. The repainting was a while back. Healthy Estate Walk. I didn't go to the Healthy Estate Walk. That's why I don't recognize it. I was busy that day. I'll check my calendar. I'll show you. The council also participated in the Welcome Fest activities at Iowa State, welcoming new students to the community and engaging with them about a variety of things that might impact them while they stay here. And that's it for the city council. You've done a lot of engagement with the public, and of course the budget for the council reflects a lot of the support functions for the council to be able to go to conferences and host events and activities and things of that nature. If there are no questions, I'll move on to the city manager's budget. In your budget book, you'll skip over city clerk's office to get to the city manager's pages. We've been working on a variety of major projects and providing leadership to those projects. And earlier today, we were going through these projects, and although they all fit on one slide, these are really big initiatives. So our staff has been involved in coordinating the climate action plan, working on a regular basis on the details related to the construction of the Fitch Family Aquatic Center. Steve and I have been working with university and research park officials to hammer out the details of the SciTown development area. Of course, we've had involvement over the past year plus with the development of the Link project. There's been regular involvement in the details related to the downtown plaza across the street here. And then some new initiatives. This year, I've started facilitating again the Development Review Committee, which brings together the city departments that are involved in site development, zoning, all of those types of development processes, and ensures that we provide exceptional service to the folks that are looking to invest in our community. So that's taken a bit more of the time of the staff in the city manager's office. And then solid waste disposal has been an ongoing discussion in a variety of different ways over the past couple of years. That's involved staff from the city manager's office coordinating between electric, resource recovery, and then outside partnering agencies. And then in addition to that, the staff in the city manager's office supports a variety of commissions and organizations. I won't hit all of these, but I did want to highlight, again, Development Review Committee is listed on there. That's a newer initiative. Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, Steve has been involved in a lot of the discussions that group has had to ensure that we're identifying grant opportunities and ways that we might partner with other communities in the greater Des Moines area. And then the Downtown Ames Board. So I participate in the Downtown Ames Board as a staff liaison. They're going through a process right now, as you recall, to develop a master plan for the downtown area to determine what they would like that area to look like in the next several years. That's all I have for you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to field those.
Brian, I'm somewhat saddened to see the estimates of city council referrals to staff going back up again. We dropped that number to 110 last year, and now you're estimating that we're back up even higher than we were previously. So I hope we prove you wrong.
I hope so too.
I'll bring that to your attention as we go along during the year too. All right. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Welcome aboard, Pa. We're glad you're here. All right. Now we've been promised a very entertaining and unique presentation by our city clerk, Renee. So
Good evening.
Good evening.
My budget is on page 232 and 233. And we chose a little different approach to presenting our information to you tonight. And so I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the City Clerk's Office Year in Review. As you know, the Clerk's Office plays an important role in the operations of the City of Ames. But first, I want to start with giving a huge shout out to my staff, Grace Banstred, Jeremy Neefus, and Carly Watson. They are hardworking, highly competent, and provide excellent customer service, both internally and externally.
In the City Clerk's office, we are home to permits and licenses in many areas, from alcohol to vending licenses. Last fiscal year, our office issued over 433 permits. These permits help keep the city safe by assuring background checks, certificates of insurance, and interdepartmental review happen on all applicable permits and licenses. Our office cultivates interdepartmental relationships as inspections, police, legal, public works, and parks and recreation staff all assist in certifying applications. The City Clerk's office is the touch point for all special event applications and works with various departments to make sure events are safe and that event organizers have the support they need to host engaging events for the community. The people we serve are the aspect of our job that I'm most passionate about, and I appreciate the opportunity to engage with the diverse population of the community through permits.
The City Clerk's office administers contracts for public improvement projects, including equipment and services. At any given time, we are monitoring contract documents for nearly 80 active projects. With these projects come a number of agreements, whether it's for funding, MOUs between organizations, or easements for construction purposes. Over the last fiscal year, we had a total of 68 new agreements presented to the City Council. Most of these agreements and contracts necessitate a certificate of insurance, with the city listed as an additional insured. The City Clerk's office is currently tracking COIs for 338 items. Awarding contracts, change orders, project completions, and many other levels of city business have to be approved by the City Council in order to move forward. This resulted in 637 resolutions written by our office in the last fiscal year. Some of these resolutions or other requests to the City Council go a step further and become an ordinance. There were 32 ordinances adopted by the City Council in the last year, which are recorded by our office. It's all a big circle of paperwork that starts and ends with us, and we are happy to serve the City Council as well as the residents of Ames in this administrative capacity.
The city clerk's office manages recruitment for 20 city boards and commissions. This includes an annual recruitment, which we get most applications at, and then several special recruitments throughout the year to address unexpected vacancies. In fiscal year 2022-23, we had 44 individuals who were appointed or reappointed to city boards and commissions. And we got 40 new applications from residents who are interested in serving their community. We also provide administrative support for 6 boards and commissions out of that 20. The Ames Human Relations Commission, Ames International Partner Cities Association, Analysis of Social Services Evaluation Team, or ASSET, the Campus and Community Commission, Commission on the Arts, CODA, and the Public Art Commission, PAC. We also help to put on the annual Boards and Commissions luncheon to recognize the 153 volunteers serving on our boards and commissions.
The city clerk's office maintains official records of the city dating back to 1870 when the first ordinance was adopted. We keep records of everything from council proceedings to agreements and contracts, resolutions and deeds, to name a few. As we look ahead in 2024, we are analyzing our current records retention system and electronic management system for efficiencies and ease of use. Last year was also an election year where we served as deputy election officials. We estimated $20,000 for this regular city election, but the actual cost for the city's portion was $9,911.05. We had 5 council members run and 3 hospital trustees. One major accomplishment for our office was the introduction of the City Council agenda management system called PEAK that we rolled out this past November. We were able to find cost savings from our publishing costs associated with minutes by printing a summary of the City Council minutes and reformatting how we publish claims. PEAK had a big learning curve for us, as well as the rollout and teaching of the majority of the city employees. The PEAK provides increased efficiencies for all users, greater accountability for placing items on the agenda, and flexibility with it being a web-based system.
The thing that I personally like about PEAK is that it keeps everything very organized. You know what things you have to do, who's approved of them. And so it really helps all of us that write council action forms.
Peak Agenda really helps us put that packet together and keep the workflow moving.
I'm telling you, I love PEAK. It's been a great system for the city of Ames. I am so glad that we are meeting our values and doing things out of the box, continuous improvement, excellence, and giving us a way to improve our workloads efficiently. And I just want to say, PEAK is the way to go, and I love PEAK.
In regards to City Council, your service to the city of Ames requires a great deal of time, much of which is spent right here in the City Council chambers. You attended 45 council meetings that averaged 2.4 hours. There were 1,015 agenda items, which averaged approximately 22.6 items on the agenda per meeting, and you wrote 116 council action summaries for items either from the non-agenda packet or from staff reports that you directed action on. We track these from beginning to end. As we look to the future, we will continue to evaluate processes and procedures, and we're going to do a deep dive on our current permit fees, which have not been reviewed since 2007. Please stop in and see us.
Good job.
Bill. They have a great video production.
Who's that person that loves Peak? I mean, that's just an actor.
She wonderful.
Oh, no surprise. Great.
Any questions?
No.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's a tough act to follow there.
I know. I used to feel this way with Diane, and now I can still feel this way. So I'm
You'll do great.
really excited to be here tonight to talk about, to sort of unveil a new title for our division and to look at a different alignment of city staff, which was Corey Goodnow talked about a little bit earlier. And it's something that's been in the works for years. This isn't something that we took on lightly. But I want to assure you that as we look at a different title and in a different alignment, that our commitment to branding a positive city identity, the purpose of our communications office will remain the same. And that we are committed to ensuring the city of Ames is recognized as the premier provider of municipal services in a vibrant, innovative, progressive university community. That is our goal. What we're looking at is a new title to kind of use an umbrella title for our communications efforts within the city. So a communications and outreach office that, instead of a public relations officer or a public information officer, which is more of an antiquated government title that doesn't always make sense to people outside government structure, to align that under a communications and outreach manager. And under that would be communications specialists. And by having communication specialists, we're looking at communication professionals who are trained, cross-trained across different disciplines, but have an area of special emphasis that they are particularly excellent at. So when you look at media production as a communication specialist position, that person would still be in charge of our part-time staff, but they would be cross-trained to help in other areas, which, to be honest, we're doing already. We talked about Courtney Henders joining us. It makes a lot of sense to fold her under communications and outreach. She has a background in graphics and she runs our print shop, but we use her graphics capacity and talents so much more each passing year. And as she has more capacity to help us more and the printing sort of stabilizes or even declines a little bit, we really feel that's a better use of her skill set. And then this opens up the idea of a communication specialist, maybe who focuses on the digital aspect of communication, social media, and website. Some of the things that we do in the communications and outreach office, formerly the public relations office, you'll recognize these things: press releases, newsletters, video, legacy media, radio, television, and newspapers, and social media. One of the big projects this year is website, so I'm going to go circle back to that. Website and website improvement. I know that the council has much applauded and encouraged an improvement to our website. So we are in that project right now. We are working with our current vendor, Granicus, to look at our website holistically. We're doing a lot of data collection right now. I'm learning a lot of new jargon, information architecture, user experience, heat maps. Boy, there's a lot of stuff that goes into building a website before you build the first wireframe. And so we've looked at heat maps. We've looked at where people are going on our website right now, where they get stuck, how many clicks in that it takes them to get information, how many seconds they rest on each page before dropping out. And the timeline for our website is looking at a launch this fall. And at this point, we are sticking with our goals of an attractive, intuitive design with improved functionality, with improved mobile experience for mobile users, and accessible to all users. So those are the driving forces behind this improvement. We expect some new tools with this new website. So Renee mentioned TU Peak. That's one of the new tools that will integrate seamlessly into our new website. We're looking at e-notification, a little bit of a different module that will allow text notification. So it will be self-select. You have to come in, sign up, and imagine that you're somebody who lives on a snow route and you've signed up currently on our system for e-notification, but you're not somebody that checks your email very frequently. You could sign up for text notification, pick the snow ordinance option, and then when that is enacted, you would know by text that the snow ordinance is in effect. We think this will be a popular feature for a lot of people who come to our website. 10, 15 years ago, websites were not the communication tool that they are today. We didn't really see a lot of website use, and now it's the number one source of information for the city of Ames is people are going to our website. So we want that website to be as user-friendly and as effective as possible. Other things that we do in our office include outreach and education, speaking and tours, recognition events, and then, of course, our resident satisfaction survey. We speak to, we don't see tours as much. Those really dropped off at COVID. My hope is that they might come back, but we do offer those. one of the sadder tours, one of the sadder, as I've been here many more years, we used to do tours for people who graduated from high school here. We don't do those anymore. So I think the last graduation class, when the last time they came, they were in their 80s. So I haven't been asked, but we still have third graders that's still part of their local curriculum, as far as I know, to do a local government study, and maybe we'll see those returning. But we have gotten a lot of speaking engagements, particularly around climate and sustainability and conservation. So we see that interest growing. We do outreach in the local schools, civic groups, and of course, we're really active at Iowa State. With our connection through Mayor Rankin and sustainability, we are involved in doing events at Iowa State, like the Sustainapalooza and the fall and spring sustainability events. So some events for your calendars. I put these up every year. I don't expect anybody to write them down or memorize them. But as we mentioned earlier, the Smart Business Challenge Luncheon happened in January, and the Boards and Commissions Luncheon is coming up in March. We have our Bike to Work Week breakfast coming up, and the bike ride as it gets warmer into May and June. We'll see more activity. Council Night, the band show will be in June. Rummage Rampage has already started meeting, kicks off with, if you're collecting your items to donate, kicks off Friday, July 26th, with donations being accepted, with the first day of the sale being July 27th, a Saturday, going for the entire week until Saturday, August 3rd. And to be scheduled yet this year, I got this great chart of all of our park birthdays. It is amazing how many parks are going to celebrate milestone birthdays this year. Many of you will probably remember Ada Hayden 20th anniversary this August. 75th anniversary for Innis Grove, 75th anniversary for Emma McCarthy Lee Park. And then there's just a variety of different parks turning different ages. One of the great things about the list that I got, it tells me who's going to be celebrating next year, and Brookside Park celebrates 100 years next year.
Wow.
So we have a great park system, and we want to celebrate those parks. We know that our residents want to celebrate them too. So we're going to plan a series of events so that we can recognize these. Also, of course, the Fitch Family Aquatic Center will be doing a groundbreaking. We're really looking at 2024 as being a pretty active year, and it's kind of getting back into the swing of things. It's been a while. So that's really great. One of the new categories, it was a new budget section actually last year, so this is the second year it's been included in the budget book, is sustainability. And just a quick update on that. As you know, you accepted the Climate Action Plan in June of last year, and that focused on the 6 big moves as a way to reduce our carbon to zero by 2050. At the end of last year, or I guess in January of this year, we talked about the City 7 priority areas identified and progress that we've made on those so far. We are working with Polk County on the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, or CPRG application. That's a way to access federal funding through the IRA, and that is ongoing. And then we're looking at hiring a sustainability coordinator. So that's just an update on those. And I did jump around a little bit. We'll go back with Bill, who will discuss the last part of communications and outreach.
Absolutely. And hello, glad to be here and be a part of the communications and outreach team. Obviously, I'm going to start with a video for y'all of just some things we've done over the last year. That is just a little, they call that a sizzle reel of just things that we've done over the year. As you can see, we've done lots of things with different, both inside and things that are public facing. You can see our stuff is on page 238 and 239. We work with people doing trainings, promos, events, recruitments. We have some ongoing series that we try to push out on our social medias, as well as we try to be live whenever we can. We've been doing more of that this year than we have been before. I couldn't do this without, as Susan mentioned earlier, I do supervise our part-time staff. I have 3 great part-timers, Graydon Wilson Crum, Kazik Israni Winger, and Gable Thompson. They do a great job as part-time staff to make themselves available for everything that we need. They work days, nights, weekends, holidays, just to make sure that we're covering everything that needs to be covered. So we are continually looking at different ways to reach our community with the messages that need to be reached. Podcast is the one that we've been exploring recently, trying to get into that field so that we can maybe reach a different audience or reach our same audience in a different way with something that can really resonate with them. Our most notable issues in the budget are equipment and software. Equipment in this field is always changing, as well as the software, but then also staff time. Again, I just have 3 part-timers that work in our office, but we're having requests all the time for newer things. So that's it for communications and outreach. If you guys have any questions.
Thanks, Bill. Questions?
A couple quick things. It's interesting on page 239, showing the Facebook post views. What a remarkable increase that has been. And I had no idea that we would see that kind of continued steep increase. And I wanted to just, I don't know who's always responsible for the responses, but I am just so appreciative of the thoughtfulness in the responses on when someone posts on our Facebook. And they, of course, they range from a thoughtful question, how do I do this? When is this event? And very timely responses. And then you'll have people that are just weirdos and just saying the most outrageous things. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to respond to that? And so just the thoughtful and grace-filled responses really represent the city well, even at times when you probably have to sort of bite your tongue on some of those responses, but really well done on that. And then want to also just thank the staff for providing video coverage for the Veterans Day and Memorial Day programs. What we're finding is that's allowing a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise be able to attend those programs to watch those. And so there's a lot of work involved in that. So we really appreciate that. And I've talked a lot about the lack of coverage from the Ames Tribune. And I'm not trying to be mean about this. They have their own challenges and things. But wow, have we missed that. And so I see your work as really sort of backfilling and providing additional means of communicating with our constituents about what we're doing. And so I've never been more convinced in the importance of the press. And when we don't have that, we really rely on you. And thank you also, Iowa State Daily, also appreciate their coverage. So, but thanks for all the work you're doing on getting the word out.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions? All right. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, Mark.
I just want to add that Bill, excuse me, didn't mention that sometimes I narrate videos for him. It's a chance for me to use my radio voice,
Yes.
but he has yet to allow me to use my monster truck rally voice.
Oh.
Maybe someday. Yeah. I won't do that one for you. My budget pages are 248 and 249 for the legal department. And please, oh, which do I hit? Oh, okay, thank you. There we go. I always like to talk just quickly about the staff because, you know, we're the ones that, you know, my staff and I do everything. It's really the people that make up what we do. It's most of our budget is paying for salaries and benefits. Just from the left, we've got Jill Grimsley, whose title is administrative assistant, though she's far beyond that. She's been with the legal department for about 18 years.
And before that, she was 7 years at the Nyemaster firm as a paralegal and 17 years as a deputy clerk of court for Story County. Vicki Fielmeyer is an attorney. Vicki and I were in law school together, but we didn't know each other and didn't recognize each other. When I think we're like a year apart in law school, but we're there at the same time. But she's been with us for 7 years now, and she was an attorney in private practice. And Vicki used to be on the Board of Regents, and she did a lot of real estate and development work, working for developers in private practice. And then she came to us 7 years ago and has been doing a lot of real estate and development work here. So me, I'm in just about 3 months, I'm going to hit 11 years with the city. I always like to joke that's the longest I've ever held a job. And so it's 7 years at that point that I'll have been city attorney, and 4 years before that as an assistant city attorney. Jane Chang has been with us 6 years, again, one of our attorneys. Jane is formerly a prosecutor with the Story County Attorney's Office, and we hired her away from there. Next is Andrea Witt, legal secretary. Andrea has been with us a little over 2 years, but she had many, many years working for law firms in Sioux City and here in Ames. And then Sandy Charter, and on the right, Sandy has been with us just a little over a year. And Sandy came to us from the clerk of court's office. She literally went from working at that end of the hall to this end of the hall. So anyway, that's the staff. We calculated that we have, as a total, the staff 157 years of working in legal matters. And that's a little over 26 years each. So it's really pretty impressive. And, I like to think we know what we're doing. Really no surprises in the budget. And gosh, what we do, it's pretty, you kind of know all this. We've gone over it before. Advise the council, staff, boards and commissions. I recently took about, I don't know, 2 or 3 days where I just wrote down everything I was doing and I sent it to all of you just as an FYI. And that's, kind of constant interruption, constant questions coming in. We advise all the city departments that, in addition to just, working on the legal matters that people send us, there's just a lot of off the cuff dealing with things that arise. We also, when the city gets sued, which, happens in this world. Of course, we have ICAP, our insurance carrier that provides an outside counsel, but I work with that outside counsel on all of the litigation. I usually go to the depositions. I review anything, usually before they're going to file any kind of a motion or anything. They run it by me for my input. So I'm just constantly working with the outside counsel and all of those things. Here's our funding sources. General fund is most of it, and then a little bit from different places. We've been receiving $10,000 a year from the city assessor's office for some time now, and we agreed with them to raise that to $15,000 this year. So just to reflect that we spent a lot of time, and also that figure had not gone up in over a decade. And again, personal services, which is the staff, is really the bulk of our budget, because it's the staff doing things that's the nature of our work. I always like to say that, and I've told you this before, I've said it many times, our work is reactive in nature. We don't have a work plan, because the work comes to us and we react to it. And so we're just working on whatever the council is seeing as its priorities, and what the issues that arise, and often things arise that no one's anticipating, and we get called in and have to work on those things. So it's just a constant stream of working on things, but it's impossible for us to to plan our work because it just doesn't come that way. It's 100% reactive, but except for extremely rare occasions when we decide like, oh, we need to fix this ordinance. You know, we notice a problem in it. Got one of those that'll probably be coming to you soon. But anyway, so that's about it. You know, we've been busy on the Fitch Family Center and North Dayton, and it's just a lot of projects that have been going on, and you know, the aquatic center is, you know, took up a lot of time working on the contracts and everything. There are still little issues. You know, right now we're trying to figure out. Got electric line running through at the edge of the property that's got you know, some outside companies' lines on it, some communication companies, and so we're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And so that involves us working with Public Works and Parks and Rec and electric, and so we're working through all those things. But those are the kind of things that just sort of come up all the time in our line of work. And anyway, we're very happy to do it. I do want to say nobody told me I could do a video, and I'm really sad. I think next year I'm going to get out my guitar and write a little song about the legal department. So
Can't wait.
you'll have that to look forward to. So, are there any questions you have about my budget or the work that we do?
Any questions?
So it looks like since 2021-22, we've closed a lot more matters, and we've also introduced a lot of other things into the mix. What does other entail? Because all those other departments seem to be either going down in the number of items or just slightly up.
Other includes, for example, our prosecutions. And I mean, that's one thing I know it's in there. I'm trying to think of what else. You know, any sort of work on litigation would be in there too. Also, like we're you know, we file a number of small claims actions every year that are, you know, trying to collect money from, you know, someone hits and takes out a light pole and they don't have insurance, so we pursue them in small claims court. Okay, those kind of things. There are probably other things that I can't think of right now, Gloria. So
That helps,
Yeah.
Mark. Thanks.
okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Bethany.
Good evening. I'm excited to talk to you about human resources. And so tonight we'll be talking about human resources, which includes risk management, health insurance, and health promotions. So this is the human resources team. So as you can see, we like to inject as much fun into the workplace as possible. So our team is just so great. It's made up of Lyle Davenport, Vicki Hillock, Samantha Perry, Casey Schumann, Krista Hammer, Bill Walton, and Taylor McVeigh. And then our honorary member is Cassandra Ames, our DEI coordinator. We invite her to all of the things that we do. She's been really, really fun to get to know, and our programs are linked so closely that we always invite her to the fun, including dressing up. So our Excellence Through People goals are exceptional service at the best price and helping to create an enjoyable and stimulating work environment. And we in Human Resources take that really seriously. So we always strive to provide exceptional service to our customers, both inside and outside the organization. And of course, we seek to provide employees with an enjoyable and stimulating work environment through the programs that we offer. So recruitments continue to be a really big focus for our department and for our team. In the last fiscal year, we launched 193 recruitments. That includes full and part-time positions. And we received 2,345 applications, which is actually slightly lower than the previous year. It's still a lot of applications. We've hired for full-time or part-time regular positions from outside the organization, 73 people. And we had 22 promotions. So the gap here between the 193 recruitments launched and the number of people that we hired have to do with sometimes we have to start a recruitment more than once. Sometimes we have a failed recruitment. And we hire a lot of temporary and part-time employees that are not benefits eligible. So that's where those numbers are kind of contained. One of our major focuses in the last year that continues to be a focus in the next budget year is our employee training opportunities. So what you can see here are some really great examples of ways we engage our employees through training. We have new employee onboarding. So it's a 3-day experience that new employees to our organization get to experience. And they learn all about the organization. We take them on tours. We show them parks, facilities. It's just a really great time for people to get to know the city and each other. We also have some training that we bring new leaders into. So people who are newly promoted or newly hired into leadership positions go through a class called Creating the Culture. And so that's where we talk about leadership practices, we talk about ETP, and we help people understand the philosophy of leadership in our organization. And I'm really excited to say that we've launched a new training for leaders called Leadership Fundamentals. And this just kicked off in November. And so we're continuing to move through. This is a 6-part series. So our goal is that within 3 years, we'll get all leaders through this. And this provides sort of the nuts and bolts training for leaders. And so we teach them the philosophy first. And then it's, well, how do I have a tough conversation? How do I go through a recruitment process? What are the policies and procedures? And so we spend 6 full days with all leaders in the organization, little by little. And then we teach them these things. And the goal here is to provide and equip leaders to be the best leaders they can be. That'll have a significant impact on their teams and on their own experience. So we're really excited about that. And we look forward to completing the series and moving that forward in the coming years. So now we'll move on to risk management with Bill Walton.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Absolutely.
How many failed searches did we have last year? Do you know?
I don't know the exact number. It doesn't happen very often. So I would say it's 10 or less.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Bill Walton. I'm the risk manager for the city. You'll find my budget overview on pages 270 and 271. And I want to start out, there's a typo on page 271. Talks about the increase in property insurance from prior year. That number should actually be 35%, not 10%. And that breakdown is outlined further down on that page. I thought it would be helpful to kind of see where our insurance dollars go. So I'm providing a couple of pie charts here, and our largest piece of liability insurance is general liability. Excuse me. As you probably know, ICAP is our liability insurance carrier. I anticipate they will continue to be, just based on the nature of the program. But transit is our number 2, and not surprising, the number of miles that SIRIDE runs and the number of passengers that they carry, that's obviously going to be the other. And then the remaining 3 are relatively close to each other. And that's professional liability, which covers things like employment type claims. Police liability would be wrongful arrest, that sort of thing. Property insurance, as in years past, the power plant is going to be the largest contributor to the cost of property insurance. A couple of reasons for that: the age of the facility, the fact that we burn RDF. Insurers are shying away from RDF simply because of mainly because of a large fire that happened in 2022 down in Florida with a refuse facility. Staff is working diligently with our broker on this to make sure we can get the renewal numbers as early as possible this year. In fact, staff has been meeting with the property broker every month since the last renewal, just to discuss the state of the market, where they project our numbers will come in at as far as property value increases and then rate increases. But we do expect rate increases again this year.
Excuse me, Bill, do you, something sticks in my mind is that the number of carriers have really gone down regarding the power plant. Is there a risk, because we burn RDF, of not being able to get insurance, period?
No one will go so far as to tell me that yet, Mayor, but it's a possibility. The fire in Florida was it wasn't even a refuse-derived fuel facility. It was just a large waste facility that was a huge expense to insurance companies. Reinsurance is really what's driving the market right now. And while the market hasn't continued to harden, it's not softening either. So as reinsurance dollars become available, we'll see that market soften and rates go down some because there'll be more competition for that reinsurance dollar.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the risk management portion?
Bill, on page 270, and maybe this is obvious, under expenditures by category, the contractual line item was up 26%. I don't know what that is. Could you?
Contractual would be things like the IAMU contract for the safety training. Anything off the top of my head?
It's the insurance. It's paying for the insurance, like
The insurance brokers. Yeah, the insurance brokers fall into that category.
So then do we have that twice then? So we have, for example, property insurance, I understand. So that line item up 46%, but you've explained that. But is that also reflected under contractual?
again, yes. By activity, they're like kind of by the specific types of like insurance that they are. Down under expenditures by category, it's personal services. It's just by the type of expense.
Okay, so it's just
that are on the top under contractual down below.
Got it. That's helpful. I should have known that. Thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Good evening, Mayor and
evening.
Council. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Krista Hammer. I'm an HR officer in the HR department, and I'll be presenting the health insurance information for you on pages 272 and 273. So I don't know if everybody remembers, but we usually have a personal or a departmental goal where we would like to stay at least below double digits, starting with 10% for any increases that we would apply to our rates for premiums. And this year, again, we are looking at a 8% increase without having to actually eat too much into our actual insurance fund this time, unlike last year where we were anticipating eating into that just a little bit. So we are actually meeting our goal, and that black line at the top is actually Wellmark's book of business. So we are actually in pretty good shape with actually being competition for their other clients besides ourselves. Arrow? Okay, thank you. And then to break down our health insurance expenditures, we actually want to call out again that the health administration piece, which would be everything that we put into it from staffing to other expenses is only 1% of our total budget. So we're definitely keeping on track with having minimal expenses outside of claims and whatnot. But there is a little bit more of a comparison when it comes to the claims, obviously. Medical and pharmacy are our biggest pieces of the pie, and they continue to be. But there is 1% that went down that we're anticipating for 24-25 with medical claims. We do see the same percentage being given towards the pharmacy claims, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we did see a little bit of an increase to 10% anticipated for 24-25 under what we call excess insurance, and that is our stop loss, whether it's individual or aggregate. And a reason being is because mostly of our experience with that, but we also had a little bit of a increase due to a higher number than we usually have experienced having individuals hit the stop loss amount, which is over 125,000 claims per individual. So we have been working with our third-party vendor, Gallagher, our compliance group, to keep on top of that. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when I do a closing here in the next slide. And then talking about that pharmacy expenditure. So if you remember back in December, we asked you to approve a new pharmacy benefit manager group to try to help with managing our pharmacy claims a little bit better. And with that contract that we signed for a 3-year agreement, we found that Carillon RX has come back to the table with giving us a great anticipated savings, not only with rebates, but also drug costs. And so we should see actually an impact to those claims amount being 22% of our current budget to actually take it down just a little bit to offset it with those rebates and cost of drugs with the after the first calendar year, because we started January 1 with this group. And then there is also a projected savings over that full 3-year contract that we have as well. So even though the claims are right now being projected at 22%, we should see that being offset a little bit by savings. And then again, we're going to keep Gallagher as an enlisted partner for even taking a look further into that excess insurance to see if there's any better stances with other companies. We may look at carving it out like we did with our PBM. But this past year, 23-24, they came back and said that Walmart had the best rates for us this time around. So we'll continue to look at that for next year. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions?
I'm always just in awe of what you guys are doing, keeping the prices down. And it's just, this is one of the great attributes of our city government is that we self-insure. And when you compare, this is a big enough group where you have a wide spectrum of ages and health situations, and to keep our rates down like this, I'm always just sort of in awe. So good work. Just amazing.
And even the rates are just not current employees, they're also our retirees as well. So all the claims are put together when we talk about not only our employee benefits, but also includes the retirees that may choose to stay on our plan.
I see. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, Krista.
Yep. Thank you.
Casey, you're up.
Good evening, everybody. Can you see me over the screen? I'm shorter than everybody else. Good evening. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all about health promotion. My name's Casey Schumann. I'm the health promotion coordinator. We're coming up on just 2 years of me being here in April. My budget pages are on 274 and 275. I don't know if Krista mentioned this or not, but the health promotion budget is funded by the health insurance budget. So that's where all those dollars come from. We provide a lot of different programs. We provide programs that cater to all areas of well-being. In my slides here, I do just talk about mental and physical well-being, but we do cater to all areas of well-being. We have a strong focus on creating a work environment and a work culture that supports healthy choices and improving health habits. One of the areas that we've been focusing more on this year, as you can tell by the slide that I've got up here, includes mental well-being. Last year, I obtained a mental health first aid instructor certification. I have been teaching about 3 classes per year to city employees. We continue to see mental well-being challenges among our community members, among our employees, and our employees have said that they have felt better prepared to deal with these types of situations after they have taken this course. So it's been a really great tool for our employees. In addition to that, we did a little bit of adjusting to our Healthy for Life program requirements for this year. Healthy for Life is an incentive program for our employees who are on health insurance, and we require them to complete certain activities to receive a health insurance discount. This year, one of those 4 required activities is complete an activity related to mental well-being. And this might include attending a class. It might include watching a video or reading an article, listening to a podcast, anything that will help them learn more about mental health and mental well-being. And we just hope that by learning more about this topic, city employees can be better equipped to attend to their own mental well-being. Even though we've been focusing on mental well-being, we haven't forgot about physical well-being. This year, we have partnered with the Parks and Recreation Department to obtain an InBody 570 machine. It's that funny L-shaped looking thing up there. It's a special type of scale, and it measures body composition. Body composition refers to the different percentages of tissues that we have in our body. So it measures lean mass, which is muscle tissue. It measures fat mass, and it also measures water. When we measure someone's weight, we don't typically get the full picture of what's going on inside their body because it lumps all those 3 categories together. So using the InBody, we can help employees have a better understanding of what's going on inside their bodies. We can help them assess their potential risk for chronic diseases. Also new this year is the use of Wellmark as our online wellness services provider. This is really, really exciting because now all of our health insurance and our wellness data are in the same place. So that's very exciting. Hopefully, data integration will be seamless and we will better be able to tell if our wellness program is directly impacting claims data. Something else that we're really excited about this year with Wellmark is they have a individualized wellness coaching program called Positively Me that we are exploring for this upcoming year. This program focuses on reducing chronic disease risks by managing and reducing weight while improving body composition, nutrition, and mental well-being. So the budget that we're requesting this year reflects the continuation of all of our existing wellness programming, including annual all-employee, spouse, and adult dependent health screenings, possible increase in the cost of vaccinations, and then also maintaining space for possible future programming, such as Positively Me. Any questions for me?
Questions?
My only sadness is that I wish there was a way we could replicate this to the broader community. I mean, what you're seeing here is just really remarkable success and buy-in. I mean, for people who don't have these employees to participate in wellness programs, you've got well over half of your staff that are participating, and that would be huge if the community had that kind of opportunity to participate. So, as we think about the internal inward focus of this program, I'm just throwing this out there as someday I'd love to think about a way that we could find you and then pivot you outward to the community to find ways to engage more broadly with our community. So love this as a model. I just wish we could have it outward facing.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Casey. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our presentations. I hope every year when I sit through these, I more and more am proud of all the great work the employees for the city of Ames are doing for the citizens of Ames. I hope you are proud of them too. And we're always looking at ways to improve, right? We know about our ETP values of continuous improvement. So we're always looking at ways to provide better services and try to keep it as efficient and effective and cost effective as it can be. So we'll continue to do that. Now that's the easy work. The hard work will be you next Tuesday. So Nancy's going to hand out. You got some homework to do besides looking at this budget. A little worksheet for you on what we're going to do next Tuesday. Remember, we're going to have a full council meeting that follows. We're going to start off with making final decisions. We hope are final decisions that we're going to take to a budget hearing on the budget. So we're going to go through the capital improvements plan, right? If there's any amendments, we're going to add those if you want to, and then you're going to vote on that. I hope in the case of the CIP and the operating budget, these are delicately balanced documents. So we just don't throw things in that budget. They have some realism in terms of financing. So if you're going to add something, it'd be good if you could contact me a little beforehand so I could be prepared, because we use up all the local option tax funding, the road use tax funding. Anything you might want to add in utilities may drive up the rates. So we need to know a little bit in advance rather than springing on us the meeting. We can work with you on that to be prepared. So we're going to do the CIP. Then we're going to move into the adjusted budget. That's this year, in case you want to make any adjustments. And I think Brian's going to have a recommendation on, you'll hear on Tuesday for local option tax funding for OOI. And then if there's any amendments to our amendments, then you want to hopefully warn me again if that's possible. And then we'll vote on that. And as you know, that's just the adjusted budget as we see it today. In May, we have our final budget amendments. So the world may change in a few more months, and we'll have to adjust it again. Then we're going to talk about the actual, some of the elements we want to place in the budget itself. So you'll get a report on CODA, remember, CODA funding and recommendations, asset funding, public art, the outside funding request, AEDC has a request for the workforce development, and then parking waivers. Remember, we started reimbursing the parking fund. So you'll have to make final decisions on those, and you'll have all the documentation that supports those requests are here with it, your packet, from asset CODA and outside funding. And then hopefully you'll make a motion. If there's any amendments, again, we need to know that a little bit ahead of time. But then we'll vote on the budget, again, that you want to take to the hearings, right? Any questions? Okay. So we thank you for your time. I hope it was educational, not only for you, for the public. There'll also be opportunity for public input on Tuesday, right? We're going to offer public input before you make those decisions too. So we'll make sure you have one last opportunity for public input on the CIP and the budget. All right.
All right.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See
Thanks.
you Tuesday.
Thanks to your entire staff for all the work. And we'll look forward to next Tuesday. All right, council comment. We have no disposition of communications to council, so we'll move on to council comments. And Gloria, start with
No
you.
comments tonight, other than to thank staff again for some wonderful work on keeping the city fiscally responsible.
Yep, nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight? Nothing for me. Nothing, thanks.
Nothing for me, thanks.
All right. Excuse me. We'll move on to the next item, closed session. Mark, does council have justification to move into closed session tonight?
Yes, Iowa Code Section 20.17 subsection 3 allows the council to go into closed session to discuss matters related to collective bargaining.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, is there a motion on resolution ratifying collective bargaining agreement with PPME Local 2003 Police for July 1, 2024 through July 30th, 2027?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Well, council, it's been a pleasure being together for the last 3 nights, and we'll see you again next Tuesday night.
Wait, you're not going to feed us tomorrow night?
If you're welcome to come. We have lots of leftovers.
I just assumed.
All right, so
All right.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.